Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to work on creating a Chrome extension for our platform. We want this Chrome extension to look at the URL whenever you are on the Play Store, and we want to search for this app ID in our platform's database. And in case there is a match and there are some published reports for this app ID, we want to show above this title over here, we want to show a link that would say how many reports this app has, and also act as a link to our platform. So in order to do that, we need to start by creating a new folder for our extension. And basically a Chrome extension can be a very small little package. In our case, it's enough to have a manifest.json file, a background.js file, and we need just an icon, which you can name whatever you want. And this is going to be the icon for the extension. As usual, I also have a VS Code folder in here that has the settings for how my IDE looks. You don't really need that. And also I have a README file in here which just says what this package does, but you don't really need that either. The most important part is the manifest and whatever script you have. Okay, so whenever it comes to the manifest, it's pretty easy. You can actually check the documentation for this. We're going to be using the manifest version free for this. Currently, extensions can still use manifest version 2, but soon Google will only allow manifest version free. And there's a pretty significant change between these two versions. So we'll just go with the newest one in here. So in this manifest.json file, you basically tell the Chrome extension about what you're going to do. So you have a name, you have a description, version, you have the icon, which has to match this one. I've prepared one, and it has to be 128 by 128 pixels. Then you have the permissions. In our case, we'll need permissions to read the tabs, read the active tab, and also running a script. So we need scripting in here. A big difference between manifest version 2 and free is that in manifest version 3, all your scripts are running as a service worker in the background. So these scripts do not have access to the context of the page, but you can actually create scripts, and this is why we have this permission in here, that can be called and they have access to the context. You can also, of course, have scripts in files. You can just have like a foreground.js, for example, in here, which is going to act as a foreground script. And host permissions basically tells you which websites your script should have access to, or with which URLs it should be able to work with. Okay, let's save this for now and let's go to our background.js. Okay, so in this script, let's just write something to start with. Let's just say hello world in here. Let's save it. We need to go to our Chrome. And we are going to enable developer mode. So first of all, we have to go to Chrome extensions, enable developer mode in here, and we can load unpacked, which means we can just load the folder in which our package is situated. This is our folder in here. I'm going to select this. It will get installed in here. Now you'll notice that it actually tells you that this is using a service worker. That means that if we console log anything, oh, not this. If we inspect this and we go in here, we actually won't see anything in the console log in here. But if we click on the service worker in here, we will actually see what's happening. Okay, so now we can see that this works. Let's go back to our code. So in here, we want to add a listener, and basically do it like this. So you would say that whenever the tabs get updated, we're going to add a listener. And this bit over here will give you a change info.url only when the tab actually changed, because that's when we want to look at the page changes. If we just do our code right in here somewhere, it will actually run multiple times per page load. So we don't want that. We want to only run it once whenever the URL changes. So let's save this right now. And if we go back to our browser and actually open the browser too, and you reload the extension in here. Now we don't see anything in here, but now if we go to a different page, you can see that we're getting the URL over there. Okay, so that works now. Let's go back to our code. Okay, so now we know that there's going to be something here only if the tab actually changed, the URL changed. So now we also want to add this bit in here, which is going to look only for pages that actually include this string in them, right? So we want to only look at pages that are from the Google Play Store. Next, let's change this bit over here. So I'm going to put this code in here, and basically what we're doing is that we are taking the URL currently in the active tab. From here, we are creating a URL object, and then we are creating a URL search params object, which will let us actually search through the parameters. So if we go to Chrome in here, so in this case, a parameter is going to be the ID. So basically this is what we need to get. So let's go back to our code. And this app ID is exactly what we're doing. So we're getting this ID parameter. So if we console log this in here, we're going to say app ID. So let's go back to our Chrome. Let's reload our extension. Go in here. So now if we go to a different page, we're getting the ID, exactly this one from here. So let's go back, and you can see we're only getting the ID. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so our next step is going to be taking this app ID and searching for it in our database. So for that, we'll need to go to our API, and in here we want to create a new route. So for that, we're going to do this. And this is going to be available for anyone, so you don't need a token to actually call this. And it's going to have a prefix of extension, and then it's going to be /search. And it's going to call this method on the apps controller. So let's save that. Let's go to our apps controller. And we're going to paste this code in here. So in here we are expecting for the request to have a search query, which is required with a minimum of 3 characters. And it's going to look for a store app with any reports. If it has more than 0 reports and they are published, we are going to return them back. So it's going to return all these search results. Okay, let's save this. Let's go to our Postman. I've already prepared an endpoint in here, so it's going to be extension search. You can see the URL is extension/search, and we are sending a search query with this app ID, which I know I do have a report in my local database. So let's send this. So we are getting this response back. We have the ID, the title, and how many reports. Okay, that works now. Let's go back to our code. So for now, we've finished with our API. There's nothing else we need to do. Let's switch to our extension again. In here, let's create a function that's going to help us to actually make requests. Since we don't really have any fancy frameworks in here, we have to do it using fetch. So first of all, I have these domain URL and API URL. When I'm going to publish the extension, of course, I'm going to change this to the production ones. For now, we're using the local host. So this is going to be my front end. This is going to be my API. So what are we going to do here? Our function is going to receive the app ID. It's going to create a form data, and we're going to add a search query in there with the app ID. It's going to send a post request. We're expecting a JSON response back, and we are sending our form data. And we are returning the response from this form data. Okay, so let's actually use our post data right now. So I'm going to replace this. So we are sending this app ID right in here, and then we're expecting for some data back. And if we do have a search result in here, we're going to console log it. So let's save this right now. Let's go to our Chrome. We're going to need to reload this. Okay, Now let's go in here. So I know that this one actually has a report in my local database. So if we switch to a different URL, we're going to go in here, nothing happened. And if we're going to go back, you can see that we actually got some results from our database in here. Cool, that works really nicely. Let's go back to our code. Okay, so next what we want to do is search through the page for a certain element and insert a new element on top of it. That's what we discussed before. And as I said before, if we say something like this in here, window, we actually don't have access to it in here because this is a background script. So this is where we need to actually use the scripting permission. And this is how we do it. We're going to say Chrome scripting execute script. So what we're doing here, we give it the tab ID, which is going to be our current active tab. Then we give it the function name, which is going to be called inject button. And then these are the arguments that are going to be pushed into that function. And then if everything is fine, we're going to say script injected. And if it's not, we're going to console log the error. Cool, so now let's actually create the function we want to call. So our function is going to be called inject button. So let's put this in here and let's just console log the data we're sending to it right now. So what are we sending in there? We're sending the search result. So this is going to go in here. And then we're sending the domain, the URL to our domain with this app ID. So this one is going to go in here as the URL. Let's save this for now. Let's go to our Chrome and we are going to reload this. Now let's see, if we go to this page, we did not find anything in our database, and then we go back. You can see that it has here script injected. And in here, in the console log, now it doesn't appear in here anymore because we have access, that script that we're running has access to the context of the page. So we can see the console log in here now. So we can see ID, reports, count, title. Okay. Let's go back to the code. Our next step is going to be finding the title. So actually, let's go back to the Chrome a bit. So we want to find this title over here. So if we inspect this, actually, let's do it like this. We need to somehow find this in the page and we want to insert something before it. So we want to insert a link on top of this. So the only way I found to actually search for this on the page is that we need to use this item prop name. This one seems to be unique through the whole page. So we're going to search for this and then add an element before it in the same parent. Okay, so let's switch to the code. So our code now is going to look just like this. So we'll get to this a little bit later, but let's take a look in here. So we're creating a new element, which is going to be a link. The text for it is going to be this app has this many reports on FairMobileGames. Click here to see. We're going to add an ID for this element because we want to have a way for searching for it later. Then we have the URL and then we're styling it a little bit. So we're giving it some font size, font weight, and all that. Then we're searching in the page for this element that we just discussed. And then we're going to take this element, look at its parent, and then we're going to prepend our new element to it. And this part over here is basically looking if there is already an element. So this new element, if it already exists on that page, we don't want to insert it again. Basically, I notice if you go from one page to another and then go back, it will insert it again. It seems like it remembers what it inserted on the previous page, and then it comes again in here, and then you'll have basically duplicate elements. So you might have like 3 or 4 even if you go forward and back too many times. So that's why we're looking for it on the page, and if it exists, we don't insert this anymore. Okay, so I think I have an error in here, so let's change this to data.searchResultID. And let's save this now and actually go back to our Chrome. Let's reload our extension. Let's go in here. So Let's go to another page. So we're not getting anything here. And if we go back, we can see the script got injected, and now we get this one here. This app has one report on FairMobileGames. Click here to see. So if we click on this right now, it will take us to our project and will show you everything about this app. Cool. Let's close this. And let's go to our code in here. Let's just remove these for now. I'll put them in a temporary file. Let's do it like this. Now, the first thing I want to do is actually publish our API. So I'm going to publish it now, and then I'll come back to the script. Okay, so now my API repo has been published. And if we go to Postman, we can actually test it out. So I'm going to switch from local to live. And this is going to be sent to API FairMobileGames/API/extension/search. And I know that I do have a report for this in my live database too. So I'm going to send it like this. Cool. So we can see that we actually got a result. So everything should work now with the production build. Let's go back to our Chrome, and we're going to reload the extension. Let's go in here. Let's reload the page, and let's go to one page here, and then we'll go back. And if you take a look at the URL in the bottom left, you can see that it's going to our live production server. Cool. So we can actually see that it works fine. Cool. Let's go back to our code. So the only thing that remains right now is that we need to actually zip this whole folder. So for that, we're going to go to our folder. In here, we'll want to compress this. Okay. So the next thing we'll need to do is actually go to the Chrome extension developer page. Right here, you'll need to create an account, and you have to pay a $5 one-time fee, and then you'll get this account for publishing your Chrome extensions. So in here, we can go to new item, and then we are just going to drop our extension in here, our archived extension. Okay, so now we have everything populated in here, screenshots and everything like that. We also had to add some stuff to the privacy, and we can actually submit for review right now. Let's see what happens. Okay, so let's actually submit for review in here. Cool, so now I think we'll just have to wait. You may check the status on developer dashboard. Okay, have passed the review. Okay, cool. So now we just have to wait for this to be published. Not sure if it's going to actually be published, since we're using, we are manipulating the Play Store page, but we'll see how that goes. But that's how you create an extension. I hope this helped you a little bit. And I'll see you in the next one, where we're gonna start and create a Flutter app for our project. See you next time.